Today, dogs, dogs, dogs. Want to find out why I stood in the freezing rain in January past midnight? Well, stay tuned.
I am Marcus Fellbaum. I travel, I experience, and I create. This is my art.
When Dena Tollefson mentioned the Red Rover Art Challenge, I gladly hopped right on it. So today's subject is dogs. Thanks, Dena. And you should definitely check out her fabulous work. I'll leave a link to her channel in the description below. So now then, dogs, canines, or canis familiaris if you want to go the Latin route. And what about them? These four-legged creatures, aren't they supposed to be our best friends? Tail-wagging bundles of joy and love? Or menacing beasts, gnashing its teeth and all? Well, let us look, if just for a moment, perhaps just peering through fingers into the past. I promise we won't dwell on it too long. Dogs descended from wolves 20 to 40,000 years ago, which is to say that the divergence from the wolf did not happen recently. The next significant step in the history of dogs happened about 15,000 years ago, when some hunter-gatherer had the bright idea to keep these creatures around the camp, long before people kept sheep or ox or other useful animals. So cool then, right? People in loincloths were keeping pets. Here, Fido, here! Oh, what have you got there? Oh, who's a good dog? Who's a good dog? Not quite. At first, dogs were anything but pets. Their job was to keep the camp safe, help in the hunt, and when food was in short supply, guess what? Dog was a welcome food reserve. The dog as a pet, as an animal that stays in the house, sleeps on your couch, or in a special doggy bed in your room, is a relatively recent phenomenon. Even as recent as the 1940s, most dogs were kept not inside, but outside in the, yep, you guessed it, the doghouse. It wasn't until the 1980s that we see a widespread change in the attitude towards dogs. At this point, they are becoming emotional companions to humans, part of the family. And as a result, we start seeing entire trades and industry evolve around our new relationship with dogs. Dog trainers, dog therapists, dog clothing, dog grooming. The list goes on. I even recently noticed a sign for dog yoga. Dog yoga. All right, enough about doggy history. And so, were we immune to the allure of the loving nature of dogs? Of course not. Over the years, we have had 7, yes, count them, 7 dogs. Not all at once, mind you, but still. We sort of fell into it, as one does, when a pup showed up at the archaeology office at the University of South Carolina, where I was a graduate student. A rescue pup who needed a home. And then there was another rescue dog that needed a home because the kid next door, who got him for Christmas, wasn't allowed to keep him in his apartment after all. Oh, cute puppies. Yes, there was the cuteness, but let me tell you, it wasn't all smooth sailing with our canine companions. 2 of the dogs we had over the years were chow mixes, and as such were alpha dogs. Even after a series of dog training classes, it was almost impossible to control them. I vividly remember standing in the shadow of a pine tree in the pouring rain past midnight in January, waiting for an opportune moment to grab a hold of our chow, who had bolted out the door when given the chance. Yes, the thought had occurred to me to just go home, lock the door, turn off the light and go to bed. You don't want to come? You don't want to come. But alas, he was our dog, and as such we were responsible for him. With his aggressive nature, there was no telling what he was going to do. I didn't think he would physically hurt anyone, but he might scare the living daylights out of an early morning commuter. So I stood and waited for a few hours until I was finally able to take a hold of him and guide him home. Yes, we took a lot of dogs in over the years. Almost all were rescue dogs. The latest iteration of dogs was the pair that I'm drawing here today. On the left is Moose, a mental Great Dane. My wife was completely against getting a dog from a breeder, but I always wanted a Great Dane, and I always wanted to see if we could get a dog that didn't have a prior history, a blank slate. A calm dog who greets visitors with a wagging tail and then settles back down next to the fire. That was my vision. We called our Dane puppy Moose because of the inherent size of Great Danes. We socialized him every day, as one should. Trips to the market, trips to the bank, trips around town in general. "Oh, can I pet your puppy?" Yes, please, pet the puppy." Ironically, as it turned out, Moose started growling at people from about 4 months on. The pet specialist was called, the local dog whisperer was called, a lot of advice was given, clickers, treats, dog help books, all to no avail. In the end, Moose grew to a loving big dog with an extremely nervous disposition. He was, let's call him, a clan dog. When he was with the family, there was no problem at all. Gentle giant all around. He never harmed anyone, but he scared the living daylights out of many a delivery driver. I remember this one poor UPS delivery driver standing with his back pressed against the house wall, while Moose, about 3 feet or a meter tall at the ears, was confronting the man, barking at him non-stop, "What the heck are you doing here?" until I was able to intervene. Moose even learned to open the sliding door with his enormous nose. How do you puppy-proof a house when Fido knows how to unlock the door and let himself out? And as any pet owner is aware, when you get a new companion, you immediately set yourself up for heartbreak. It was no different when Moose died. His stomach had turned in the middle of the night without any of us noticing. In the morning, when my son tried to wake him up, he said, "Papa, Moose is cold." And as you can imagine, we all felt destroyed that morning. I have tears coming to my eyes when I think about it. The dog on the right of the drawing is Caramel. We got him from a wheelbarrow sale at the village's Saturday market. Apparently a litter that was unwanted. Caramel had no issues with delivery drivers, although he was always happy to chime in with Moose's barking once Moose spotted something suspicious. Caramel was a happy-go-lucky puppy, but he loved to explore. Even though our property was fenced all around, Caramel managed to dig his way out in order to go on adventure. The dogs pretty much spent the afternoons outside on sunny days, and so when Caramel escaped, I was not always aware that he had gone. The neighbors would call or the vet saying that they had found him. I put chicken wire down where he had dug under the fence. I put reinforcing bars and filled holes with rocks. Predictably, all my work proved useless in the end, and so reluctantly we opted for one of those electric fences, which seemed a bit cruel to me at the time. But after I tried the device on myself, and a few days later, Caramel got used to where his boundaries were, and that really worked. No more running into traffic. Of course, living with dogs also had its material costs. Many years ago, we left our pack of 3 dogs alone at home for 2 hours. The dogs had been walked and fed, and I thought would surely take a much-deserved doggy nap. When we returned, we found that the $2,000 couch we inherited from my parents was not in the same state that we had left it in 2 hours prior. The cushions, the backing, almost all of the upholstery had been disemboweled. White filling material everywhere. Another casualty of dog was the front door, which had deep grooves from where Moose knocked on the door with his paw when he was ready to be let in. Oh, and the futon also somehow exploded one day. Many a piece of furniture went the way of the dodo, or of the dog. Never mind the sugar bowl. After many a misadventure, I ended up putting it on top of the fridge, only to find it again all slimy one day. Moose had stretched his long body to where he was able to reach the bowl with his tongue. Now this is about 6 feet or 2 meters up. Ugh. And still, even after all these mishaps, all the inconveniences and adjusting our lives to live with our dogs, we still loved every minute of it. Well, almost every minute. Now though, we are without pets. Our children are older now and we are catching up on some traveling we always wanted to do. So here they are, the two of them in this picture. Moose, Have a Snooze, and Caramel, keeping tabs on the teddy bear, which apparently must have been repurposed from one of our children's rooms. Will we have pets again? I think so. Deep in my gut, I feel another big dog adventure coming on. Or perhaps a little dog adventure. Who knows? Someday we will have all that traveling out of our system and will be ready to stretch our bones by the fire and ready to run our hands through a dog's abundant fur. Someday. As always, thanks for listening and thanks for watching. Till next time.